Today, I'm going to teach you how to write equivalent fractions. Now, equivalent fractions are fractions that look different. They have different numbers, but their value is equivalent or equal. Now, here are some things you should know. First of all, to write equivalent fractions, you need to multiply or divide both the numerator and denominator by the same number. What you do to one number, you must always do to the other for the fraction to stay equal. Now, as you know, there are two ways you could write equivalent fractions. As it's said over here, you could either multiply or divide. So, if you're going to write equivalent fractions through multiplication, you have to multiply both the numerator and denominator by the same number to make them equivalent fractions. As for division, you have to divide both the numerator and the denominator by the same number to make them equivalent fractions. Let's go to some examples. So we have 3 examples for writing equivalent fractions through multiplication and 3 examples through division. Let's start multiplication. So we have 1/2 and we need to write an equivalent fraction. Now, to write an equivalent fraction through multiplication, we have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the same number. Let's say that number is 2. That means we have to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2. Once you multiply that, you get 2 over 4, or 2/4. That means that 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2. Let's continue with our second example. We have 3/5. Let's this time try to multiply both numbers by 3. Let's multiply the numerator by 3 and the denominator by 3. Now the numerator, 3 times 3 equals 9, and the denominator, 5 times 3 equals 15. That means that 9 over 15 is equivalent to 3 over 5 and vice versa. Our third and final example for multiplication is 6 over 11. For this number, let's go big and multiply each number, both the numerator and the denominator, by 4. Let's multiply 6 by 4 and 11 by 4. 6 times 4 equals 24, and 11 times 4 equals 44. This means that 24 over 44 is equivalent to 6 over 11, and the other way around. Now, let's move on to division. We have this number 9 over 12, and we want to write an equivalent fraction. We could multiply it like we did before, but let's try dividing it. We have 9 and 12, and I think we could divide both the numerator and the denominator by 3. We could divide 9 by 3 and 12 by 3. 9 divided by 3 equals 3, and 12 divided by 3 equals 4. That means that 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12, and 9/12 is equivalent to 3/4. Our second example for division is 5/15. In this fraction, I think we should divide both the numerator and the denominator by 5, because they both end with 5, which means they would be divisible by 5. Let's divide the numerator by 5 and the denominator by 5. Now 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. That means 1/3 equals 5 over 15, and vice versa. Now, our final example is 10 over 12. let's divide both these numbers by 2. 10 divided by 2 and 12 divided by 2. Now when we divide them, we have 10 divided by 2, which equals 5, and 12 divided by 2, which equals 6. Now we have 5 over 6, which we know now that it equals 10 over 12. That was it for how to write equivalent fractions. I hope you learned something new. Goodbye.